Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. I don't know. I don't know what time it is where you are. I know what time it is where I am. It's time to talk about a little request that I had from, not little, it wasn't little. I got a request from somebody who follows to talk about the subject of obsessive behaviors or addictive behaviors. This was in reference to somebody who was struggling with the idea of going back to a relationship that was unhealthy over and over. So sort of obsessing about a relationship, but was looking for advice. And I laugh because I'm the worst person to talk to about obsessive or addictive behaviors. I remember I was in eighth grade, I'll never forget this. And the girl I had a crush on, I was talking to her, and she just mentioned something about myself, and I didn't feel like we knew each other that well enough for her to know me that well. The concept of this had never crossed my mind. And I'm in eighth grade, so I don't know what triggered this, but she says, "Oh yeah, well the thing about you is you have a really addictive personality, so I got to be careful." And I was like, "Huh?" Like you think of it at that age. To me, addiction is like such an otherworldly thing. That's what bad people do. That's what addicts, like druggies, do. I wasn't a druggie, so how could I possibly have an addictive personality? I've never forgotten that, and she was right. How crazy is that? That like at that age you can already sort of tell. But I think that says a lot about our nature, and that we can get caught up and unraveled in things that can consume us, and that we seek out and either medicate with or get high on, things that lift us out of ourselves. So obviously I've been an expert at this for a very long time. I've seen the devastating effects of that in my own life. Once I got, more, resources to explore bigger and better addictions, like as I got older. And it's not until the consequences of that for a lot of us are so devastating and traumatic and so hurtful to others that we really start to begin to do the work of steering away from that. So anyway, all this to say, look, whatever I say, this is, I am an obsessive addictive personality. That's just, I have to admit that. So I'm not saying this in any condescending way or like I'm holier than thou, I'm better than anybody. I'm a student of this as well, but this is what so this is how I've sort of broken it down, and I'm actively doing my best with these steps. So I hope that it helps you. I know you'll be watching. I'm the one that requested this, and I hope it helps others too. Avoid the pitfalls that I've found that can hurt a lot. When you fall far enough, it can hurt. So, but we don't have to go there. We don't have to do that. So these are some of the ways that I think we can avoid getting wrapped up in obsessive behavior. The first would be awareness. So there are 5 steps I think that I outlined, and I'm sure there are more, and I'm sure this is missing a lot, but this was what came to mind. Awareness. I think the beginning of change is awareness. If we can sit with ourselves every day and do an audit, like an emotional audit, and that's hard work. I mean, that sounds like, oh, okay, let me just check in with myself and see where I am. But what you'll find is that you start realizing, like, wow, when there's not a lot of noise around me and I'm not caught up in the stimulation of the world, and I just have to sit here, like there's a lot there that maybe I want to avoid. It's those things, the pain, the shame, the anger, the confusion, like it's those things that we must face, because those are the things those are the engine for our addictive behavior. Those are the things driving us out of ourselves into the arms of another, even if they're not healthy, into drugs, into sex, pornography, whatever it is. We are running, most likely running from, or trying to put a salve on these things that we don't want to deal with. So I think if we expand our awareness, take an emotional accounting, a spiritual accounting of our well-being, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and then start addressing those things head on, I think we can really pave the way for a healthier, new level ground with less of the mountains and troughs and highs and lows. So awareness, and to do that, we have to sit with ourselves. One thing I like to say is when those emotions come up that scare me a little bit, and I've realized I don't tolerate pain very well. On the exterior, I do. Internally, I'm running all the time from things that like make me uncomfortable. I'm getting better at facing, what is that? Like, why is this so painful for me? The rejection of another or the disapproval of another, like, oh, this hurts. Like, let me sit with this and like go back and let me chase that down to the place where it came from. And inside these little caves all over your spirit, you're going to find these, it's really just a kid who got hurt, at like 9 years old and just needs to be told it's okay and you don't need others' approval and you did great and you can go now. Thank you, and you can go. That's kind of something that I do, and I feel like I have released a lot. This is a daily thing. This will never, pick up your cross every day kind of thing. This is every day. We need to do this kind of spiritual, emotional audit. Okay. Number 2, and this is simultaneous to all this, gratitude, absolutely imperative. And when I had this realization that like, oh, the more grateful I am just for life in general, for what I already have, the fact that I don't really need anything else, that breeds contentment, and that fuels a lasting joy. Nothing can get you down if you realize everything I need I already have within me. So yes, there's a lot that we need to do in service of others, and there's a world outside of us that we need to interact with, but we can be content with the good and the bad, because the things we consider bad are really just, it's the universe, God, the divine, whatever you want to call it. It is life presenting us an opportunity to either be challenged and or to grow and evolve to the next stage. So life is going to test us and go like, are you ready for the next evolution? Are you ready to do something with what you've got? Let me find out. I'm going to make it really hard for you. Is what's happening helping me grow and learn so that I can then help others grow and learn, through the challenges that I face. So we should be grateful for the good and the bad. And I know that's not easy. And yesterday, I almost threw my iPad through 400 walls because I was working on a project. I spent the entire day building this creative deck, and the app I was working on crashed, and I was so livid. I lost it. I was so mad that my whole day was gone, and I haven't done that in a while, but like I should look at this as an opportunity to recalibrate and realize that maybe I should be working with a different program, or protecting my work in a different way, or maybe something else is going to come out of this that is a benefit, to the project, and there's something there. Maybe it was just a test to see if I really have grown into a more patient, loving, kind, gentle, compassionate, it's like all these things that I've been talking about. Am I really that thing? Let's find out, So I don't know if it's on where on that scale it falls, but I'm sure whatever it is, its end is meant to help me evolve to a more loving, patient, compassionate human being. So I've had to recalibrate, like meditated a long time on that, and I'm ready to start over and tackle that again. But I'm grateful for that experience because it reminded me I am not good at being the God of my own life. I am not good at being perfect and patient. And that was a healthy reminder of that. Replacement. Step 3, I think, is sort of like replacing one bad habit for another, one bad relationship for another. We can crowd out the things in our life that are unhealthy, that are slowing us down, stopping, that are not serving us well. We can crowd them out. I've been doing that through a couple different ways. I have very unhealthy habits. My addictive personality chases things that don't serve others, don't serve myself, my family. So what I've been doing is letting substitutions creep in. One thing, I know this sounds strange, but I joined Cameo, and for a few good reasons. I think one, I saw a video that Steve-O did, and somebody did like an unveiling, and I saw how much it affected. Brought somebody to tears that a brother would care for another brother by going out and sort of like delivering his hero in a way. It was really special. The kid had been in the hospital, and it just made him feel better. And I was like, oh, I see how this can actually if I stop thinking about my, what I want, I just want to be in a room alone, like with my own work and my writing or whatever. But if I think about other people now, there's something different there. But also by replacing my bad habits with the sort of a need to be outward every day, it has introduced a daily substitute for some of my other habits, and it's healthy for me. It's helpful. So as much as I see that it's brought some joy to other people, it really helps me. And then doing Insta Church on Sunday, I have something better than what I've been doing to service, and it takes a lot of time and energy to prepare for those conversations. And I've crowded out. I've left little room for all my other addictive behaviors, my obsessive behaviors. So we can replace and substitute, crowd out the good. And so it's less that we're giving up something that we like doing, or like trying to stave off this is cutting off an appendage, and more like, oh, how can I substitute that? If I give that time that I've been giving to this thing, the energy, the money, the whatever it is, and now I give it to something better that serves others, like now I feel good about that. And eventually there just won't be room for that because I'll make a new habit. So it can take time, but be patient with ourselves. But that's the third step. And then fourth is accountability. And this is probably the hardest one for me, especially. I think for everybody. Who's it, like Dr. Phil or somebody, said something that's always stuck in my head, but, monsters only live in the dark, and it's true. These things are only as good as the shadows we create for them. I think we create a kind of Stockholm syndrome with our demons, somebody called me. We begin to make peace with them, and sort of like, oh, this is a good thing. It's not bad that I do this, and like everybody does it, and it actually makes me feel good, but we don't realize that like we live in this unhealthy downward spiral of obsessive or addictive behavior, and that it's this negative feedback loop in our life. When we open up the doors of our inner life, our emotional, spiritual well-being, suddenly other people can start peeking in and go, that's not helping you, right? And then you go like, oh, it's harder for me to then go like, no, this guy's great. The kidnapper is super nice. He feeds me one meal a day and it's delicious. It's harder to speak unreasonably about these things that hold us captive. So by shining the light on these things, it brings more awareness to what it is for us, and it allows us to have some feedback that breaks that negative feedback cycle and begins like a positive feedback loop of like, hey, how are you doing with that? That thing wasn't helping you. Let's fight this thing. You get help. Accountability is difficult, but we don't want to make peace with our demons, and so by letting others in and becoming aware of that, it's harder to run back to those shadows that haven't been serving us. And then last, number 5, probably the hardest one for me, as strange as that sounds, would be learning to love yourself. Just love yourself just the way you are. That's so much harder than it sounds. Especially when we create these negative cycles, where like, I've done that thing again. I did it again. I didn't want to do drugs. I didn't want to run out and have sex with that person that I know isn't actually, doesn't actually love me. And I did it. And now I feel shame. And now I feel like, oh, like, what have I done? Now I'm going to go run to this other thing that makes me forget about my feelings of anger, shame, or, pain. Like, stopping that cycle of pain and shame and going like, you know what? I'm going to give myself a little grace. This is hard. Life is hard. Listen to the messaging that we get every day. You're told, love yourself the most. Give yourself what you need. You need this and you deserve this. Take care of yourself. Promote yourself. You are the best. You are the brightest star in your world. You deserve this. Like, yes, you're a special, unique, wonderful, necessary being. But sometimes we just need to sit back and recognize, you know what, this is hard. And maybe the messaging I've been getting isn't actually helping me to really love myself and others well. Let me give myself some permission to realize, of course I would make a mistake. Of course this wouldn't be, it may not be easy. And you know what, I haven't been aware of this, and there weren't people in my life at the time to help me become aware of these problems. And now that I am, it's going to take some time to unwind and unravel all this, all the house that I've built, and help instead build a new foundation and a house on solid ground. But I'll give myself some permission during this time of change and awareness and evolution to love myself anyway, despite these issues. I'm gonna just keep trying my best. And that then creates an entirely different ecosystem within that makes it far easier to promote healthy ideas and habits that serve others. Not everything that makes you feel good loves you, and you can learn to love yourself despite that, So anyway, there it is. I hope that helps somebody. And it's hard for me to talk about it because I am watching this also going like, okay, keep that in mind, you addictive a-hole. But not a-hole. I love myself. Okay, bye.